welcome to this Love Bradbury tutorial on how to hang your paper roller. So when your Love Bradbury paper roller arrives, what you will find in your package is the wall unit here, which we're going to show you how to wall mount today. You'll also get the dowel, that is the bit that your paper hangs on that sits inside the wall unit. You'll have your paper holder here, and you can select the height that goes on the wall, and we'll show you how we put that up shortly. You'll also have a selection of screws available. We'll show you how to use them and where to pop them in your wall. And if you have opted to buy a roll of paper, then you'll find that in your package as well. So the first thing to determine when you get your paper roller is where you want it on the wall. So I've decided that I want to put this paper roller on this wall here, and I would like it about the same height as my window frame. I would also like it centered on the wall. So what I've done is I have marked the center of the wall here with a little cross, and I've also marked the centre of the paper roller on the bottom there, just for my own guide. So I know that when I pop it up there, it's in the centre of the wall. So the next thing we need to determine is where the stud is in the wall. We need to put some screws through the stud because that's where the majority of the strength is going to come to hold the paper roller on the wall. So to do that, I've got my stud finder here. Now, one tip with stud finders is that you will get better accuracy if you're not wearing a watch or if you don't have your phone in the hand that you're using. So to do that, I'm just going to go across. Now that is probably the beginning of the stud, so I'm just going to put a little mark there and a little mark there. So I know that my stud is in between those two dots there. So now that I've determined where the centre of the paper roller is going to sit and where my stud is, I'm going to take my tape measure and I'm going to measure the distance between the centre and where the stud is. Okay, so that's 50 mils. So what I'll do is I'll go to my paper roller here, and on your paper roller you will find, so I know that the centre is where I've marked, but it's also where these two dots are, and I have already with a pencil marked 50 mils from the centre over here. So this is where I'm going to put my screws that are going to go into the stud. So now that I've determined where my stud is on the wall and I've marked it with a pencil mark on my paper roller here, I'm just going to start by putting these screws into my paper roller. Now bear in mind there was no hole there where my stud is, and there doesn't need to be, so I'm just getting these screws on a flat surface. I'm just going to start putting them into the wood. On a flat surface it's a bit easier to do this than it is up on the wall, so I'm not going the whole way through. I'm just getting it started so that when I get it up onto the wall it's a bit easier for me then to drill it into the stud. So what you would have seen us just do is screw this one screw in here into the stud. So we've only screwed one in, we haven't touched this one yet. The next step is to grab your level and just make sure that your paper roller is completely level. So you can do that by just gently tapping it either way, but I can see that I've got it pretty level there. So what I'm going to do now is grab this long screw that you will have found in your package when you got your paper roller, and this is basically just for a bit of extra support in the jib. So I'm going to poke it through that hole and just give it a light tap, and I'll do the same here. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to loosen this screw a little bit so that we can push the paper roller around and get one of these into the jib, and this will just secure your paper roller on the wall. So what we've done is we've loosened off this first screw that we've put into the stud, and you probably can't see it on the video, but where I knocked those two holes, there's two holes in the wall there, so I know that they're my guide to put this anchor into the wall. Now just a tip with this, when you're screwing this into the wall, there's a tiny little arrow at the top there. Once you screw that around and you get the arrow at the top, you know that you can start putting the long screw in. So I'll show you how it works. Once that's in your wall, if you can imagine my fingers are the wall there, and I start putting this screw in, this bit here just bends up behind the jib, and that goes right the way in. I won't screw it the whole way for you, but it does go right the way in, and that just allows that extra bracing for you on the wall. So we've put our screw anchors for the jib board into the wall here. Now tip with these, don't use a electric drill for these, use a handheld Phillips head screwdriver. They do take a little bit of force to get into the wall, but once they're in, you should be able to secure them tightly. Now just a tip, when you're putting them in the wall, these two little white pieces either side, just firmly hold them as you're screwing it in to stop them from splaying out. So now what we can do, and I've got my line across the top here so I know if my paper roller is exactly level, is that I'll push it up to meet that line. So now I can screw in these big long screws. So now that we've fastened all our screws and we've got the paper roller sitting really securely on the wall, the next step is to put the paper on. So we're going to get our dowel and thread it through the middle of the paper. This is probably a two-person job. One person's going to hold the paper and the other person's going to thread the paper through this little slot here, and what that'll do is it'll make the paper sit really nicely against the wall. So now that you've got the paper on the paper roller, the next step, which is really important, is to put the shelf on the top. Now what this does is it just holds it all together. So really easy to put on. You've got your cutout in the top there, and it just sits on like that. So you're ready to go. So you can have a jar of pens there, you can pop a plant there if you want, but like I said, really important, it holds it all together. So make sure you put your shelf on and you pop it on securely. So the final step to mounting your paper roller is to determine where you want to put the paper holder on the wall. So this is entirely up to you. I'm thinking I'll probably pop mine around about there. You don't need to find a stud for this because you do have these that you can pop into your jib. So these just go into your jib underneath there, and then you've got your screws there that go into that. And what these do is they just secure the paper holder onto the wall so that when you rip your paper off, your paper holder is not going to come with it. So I've decided where I want to put my paper holder on the wall, and we've made sure that it is in line with the paper holder here. Now to determine where I'm going to put the screws, I'm just going to do what I did before, put the screw in and make a little marking on the wall. What I'll do is I'll pop this one in first and leave that one a little bit looser, and then I can make sure it's nice and level before I pop that one. So we've screwed the first side in, I've left it a little bit loose so that I can just level this off. I can see that I've got it nice and level there. So I'm just going to make my marking on this side. So just a tip with these jib anchors, if you start by just banging it into the wall a little bit, and then you can screw it in from there. And then I can just put my paper holder up to here, line it up with the jib anchor, and screw this into the wall. And then I can tighten up this side as well.